One thing we tell people all the time is foster care, it's definitely not going to make you rich, but it also isn't going to make you poor.
Right.
If you manage things correctly.
Welcome to the Family Care Learning Podcast. I'm Scott Hord, and I'm training manager here at Christian Family Care. And we are so excited to have in our studio today fellow podcasters.
That's right.
Chris and Jihae Watson, and they are going to share with us a little bit about their experiences, foster care, adoption, and also in some of the other things that you do to influence others in the whole realm of foster care and adoption. And so tell us a little bit about yourselves and maybe about your family.
You got it. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, we're so happy to be here.
Yeah. So as you said, we are Jihae and Chris Watson, and we have been foster adoptive parents for over 7 years now, right?
Yep.
We have 7 children. And that are still currently living with us, which is a little crazy. So right now we're kind of on like a quasi date.
Yes, this is great.
Anytime we can get away from all
Kids,
the kiddos,
it's a date.
Yeah. Wherever we're at.
Yep,
So we have a podcast. It's called Fostering Voices Podcast. And we've been doing that for now
3 years.
3 years, yeah. So we're up to, I think, almost episode 120.
Yeah, almost.
Getting up there, yeah. But it's been a blast. So
And so Chris and I first met when we were in Korea together. I am from Korea. Chris is actually a born, raised Arizona
one of the
boy.
few.
Yeah. And then, so we met out there. We got married eventually. And then, I don't know, we had kids right away just because we wanted to.
Yeah.
And so we had our 3 bio kids, Lily, Topher, and Mia. And then we decided to, possibly have a 4th. But at that time, it was what year was that? 2012?
Yeah.
13? And there was a major foster crisis in Arizona. I think there were like 30,000 kids or something.
Yeah, definitely over 20.
In Arizona at the time. And so we saw a lot of videos about foster care and all of that stuff. And so we decided that was maybe the way that God wanted us to have more kids, as in like just care for them. I think we went in not wanting to adopt or...
Yeah.
We were open to it, but that wasn't the reason we went into it. Yeah. And so we started fostering 7 years ago, and we actually only had 7 placements in that 7 years.
Which, is that not crazy?
Yeah.
We have friends that have been fostering for 7 months and have had twice that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's
True.
so crazy just the way that, everyone's journey is different. But I think it was really great for us. We were thankful for just the time that we spent fostering, and then also the fact that we were able to adopt 3 of our kids through foster care. We adopted our 4th, who is our eldest. She's 27, and she came to live with us just as a friend who needed a place to live, and then she is never leaving us. So I definitely recommend to everyone who's fostering maybe to contemplate having a 25-year-old move in with them, help you out, and then keeping them for yourself.
Yeah.
We're so thankful for our big family. And
in fact, she was one of our episodes.
Yeah, she was.
On the Fostering Voices podcast.
Yeah. So she's had some different things that she's overcome in her life. And so we're thankful for just the ways that she pours into our family and that we're able to have her join ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you've got a full household there, and there's probably a lot going on all the time.
Yes,
I would
for
imagine.
sure.
What are some of the things that you find as you're running this household that you need to manage? Maybe some tips about managing that whole.
Yeah. So let me start with keeping ourselves sane, because I think that's really important with fostering in general and having a large household. Is that's something that early on we made it a priority early on, but then we kind of got away from it as things got busier. And after we had our 3rd bio, right? We just had a year of marriage that was kind of tough. Yeah. And we weren't dating each other. We now had 3 kids, all under the age of 5, and it was chaos. And for us, that having younger kids has always been more chaotic for us. That's not
absolutely.
That's not our sweet spot.
Definitely not. I don't like toddlers.
Yeah, even though like all our fostering has been babies.
We love babies.
We love babies.
And then
we've had
not
and
toddlers.
then we've had a few toddlers too. And it's never been our sweet spot, but a lot of good has come out of that. So after that year, at the end of that year, we had a come to Jesus moment and just realized that we needed to be better about some of those things, about dating each other and making our marriage a priority, which benefits everybody in the house. So that's something that we talk about a lot is being intentional about having that time with each other, scheduling vacations away, scheduling date nights at least every month.
Right. And even just, we kind of joked that this was like a date for us. Yeah. But honestly, we drove to Phoenix from where we live, which isn't that far. It's like 30 minutes. But for us, really, the intention of man, we are together. So we're not, while he's driving, I'm not just on my phone. Sure, if I have stuff to get done, I can do it then. But then we ate lunch together across the street, which was great. And we bring our cribbage board with us everywhere because we're 80 years old at heart.
Is that not ridiculous?
And everything is a date moment for us if we intend for it to be, and I think it's easy when your kids go to bed to just kind of say, oh man, I can't do one more thing. And so you just turn on TV, turn on the TV, and then you don't interact. So we also try to be more intentional about doing devotionals together. And so one devotional one time was set a timer and stare at each other for 10 minutes. We're no, we're not doing that. That is so weird. But it is funny that it's a hard thing to do. How often do you just sit and look at your spouse for 10 minutes or anyone without checking your phone or doing, being sidetracked by anything else? And so we did do it. It was hilarious at first, but then we have made the point, we don't watch TV very much. And we do play a lot of cribbage because we're doing something, but we're also interacting with one another. And it's just a simple, free way for us to stay connected and have fun together, which I think is really important, to still have fun, even in the midst of a lot of chaos. And there are some seasons that will inevitably feel less fun than others. Again, like toddler phase, we definitely didn't play cribbage. I was not a happy, nice person for a couple of those years, and I apologize for that. But just recognizing, man, there are seasons where we're not sleeping much and we're not having as much fun as, the Joneses across the street who seem to go to Hawaii every other month, and you can't compare that and say, oh, I wish we were them. We have a lot that's going on in our house, and how can we make that as joyful an experience for everyone as possible?
Yeah. And it's so interesting because, when you think of how to manage a house that's very busy, you would think, okay, well, there's a lot of other things I'm going to mention, but the first thing you mention is self-care, is caring for your relationship. And so I think that is the most important thing, because then you have everything else falls into place.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's excellent. Yeah.
So that's one way. I would say next, and the other two things I would mention is community, and then we can talk some budget stuff too, because that's a big part of
not having stress,
being responsible for that many people.
For sure.
There's going to be some budget stuff that goes into that.
Definitely.
But do you want to talk about community?
Yeah, and so I think community is a big part of our success in one, having joy again in our lives and having community and fellowship regularly with other people. I do think it's harder for people to say oh, I want to make dinner for you guys. Come on over. Bring the 15 passenger van that's full of humans. So we probably don't get invited to places that often, but we invite people into our home a lot more. And just simple things like, hey, we're eating hot dogs again. That's how you feed that many people. But just small things that keep you connected to other people. And I think a lot of folks who start out on their foster care journey burn out because they don't have community and they don't have a support system. And a lot of times, I think when you start out on your foster care journey, and I say this from experience because we did this, is that you just isolate yourself and you're like, man, this is our journey. This is something we said we were going to do. This is our burden to bear, and we're going to bear it alone. And I don't think that's the way that Christ wanted us to live our lives. And I don't think that's how you successfully foster children. And so just saying, man, not everyone can foster and bring children into their home, but so many people want to help. And I think that's the big thing. We did strip so many people of their opportunities to help us because they wanted to babysit. They wanted to send us food. They wanted to, send us diapers and stuff. And we're like, no, we got this. We can do this by ourselves. And so,
but you allowed them to help you.
But finally, when we were like, man, we are burnt out and we might actually disrupt with this first placement, and just recognizing, man, we need help. I need to, I, at that point, actually needed to send my toddler to daycare because we were butting heads a little too much, and just recognizing what is right for our family. And for me, the daycare piece was actually like a massive source of like pride. I was like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm supposed to stay home with this child. I'm supposed to fix her, all this stuff. And that is not what I was supposed to do. And so even that piece was like, I need help, as in I need her to go to daycare. And so for me, that was a humbling experience, but just recognizing, and I would say even for daycares, so many people, frown upon daycare, and there are some children who can't handle daycare. And, again, every situation is different. But the places where we have sent our foster children to daycare, even those workers are like, oh my goodness, this is a foster child. Like, I'm going to take extra good care of this child. And I would say all of our kids who've gone to daycare were probably favored and loved on almost more than some of the other kids, because they were always held. They were always doted on, and the daycare workers were always just so extremely gracious. And and they felt like they were part of the foster care process too. They were like, we're not fostering, but man, it means a lot to me to come to work and know that I'm caring for your child.
And admittedly, our placements were all incredible too.
They were the best. Yeah,
so it was easy to dote on them, and
they were sweet babies.
And that's interesting too, because sometimes you don't see that in yourself, and you need someone else to kind of point that. Did that happen to you? You don't always, you don't see that in yourself. And totally. I'm talking about people that are doing foster care and adoption. Like you said it perfectly. They're really focused. They're really, just like a laser beam on what they're doing. And so it takes sometimes someone else. Have you had that experience?
So going back to that first placement, that was a really tough one for both of us, for marriage, for all of it. And it was the pride. It was the pride piece that was holding us back. Okay. And like I said, we had community around us that were willing to jump in, but we took it upon ourselves and said, hey, we did this.
We're martyrs.
This is ours. It was the martyr mentality.
For sure.
And actually, I think one of the biggest pieces was our caseworker, Kelly.
Yep. Kelly Lewis. She works at
we love her.
Christian Family Care.
And she'll always have a very special place in our hearts because it was her speaking truth into our lives. And especially with Jihae, that she was able to kind of get past that hurdle and get past that first placement to where we are now. Yeah,
I called her on a Saturday morning. I'll just never forget, because Chris was working nights and weekends at the time, and we had a foster child who just really liked to scream and cry. Usually during the day when Chris needed to sleep. And it was very stressful. And I remember calling her on a Saturday morning and just crying and saying, Kelly, I think we might disrupt. This is not going well. She's like, okay, let me pray for you. And then let's also find you a daycare. Monday morning, you have to send her. And I was like, okay, well, it's Saturday. I don't really know what I'm going to do. But, she encouraged me. She prayed for me on the phone. I called a friend to babysit so that I could just get a moment by myself. And it was just so helpful. She just really walked alongside us. So I'm so thankful for her, for sure. But then again, recognizing, man, remember all those people who said they wanted to help us? Let's call them. Let's see what they can do to help us. And everyone did it willingly, joyfully. It was great. So we made it a point to not say no to anyone anymore. So when they said, hey, can we send you a pizza? The answer was yes, even if the pride in me was like, we can afford pizza, but it wasn't about affording it. Although that, goes into the budget talk too. It is nice for someone to pay for your dinner.
Right.
But the community is such a big piece. And I do think it takes a village. It does. And if you have a foster child, the village needs to be that much larger.
Yeah, and just allowing someone else the joy of helping you.
Exactly.
What a wonderful thing. And it's interesting too, because you have a lot of kids and you have a lot going on probably in your household, but somebody with only a few kids and a couple of foster children, they're still going to have some budgeting issues. They're still going to have struggles. Yeah. Every household's different, and every household's looking for opportunities and ways to really make ends meet and make things work. So what can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. And that we were no stranger to that either.
Oh, for sure.
We one thing we tell people all the time is foster care, it's definitely not going to make you rich, but it also isn't going to make you poor.
Right.
If you manage things correctly, like anything. And we steal a lot of ideas from Dave Ramsey
and our friends at Stewardship.
And our friends at Stewardship, that they have a financial podcast that we're big fans of. Defining Stewardship is that one. And it's really the give first, save second, live on the rest. And giving first teaches contentment, saving second builds wealth, and then live on the rest. And for us, that's usually between like the 10 and 15% zone for the first two, and then the rest. And the more we can give, the more we can save, the better things are. So we're getting to a point now where we want to elevate that giving and the saving. And it doesn't matter if you have a lot of income or a little bit of income.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
still the formula still works.
Exactly.
So that's what is so great about it. And for us, I think the biggest thing is being on the same page. And we're different personalities. I'm not going to say who's who, but one of us is more of a spender. Actually, I might still be more. You're more of a frequent spender.
True.
But I'm more of like, hey, there's a new security system.
You're the
on
big
sale.
spender.
I'm the nickel and dimer, and he's not.
Exactly.
More than nickels and dimes for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but being on the same page and having
right on.
having that mindset, putting a budget in place. The other thing is the state is really good about offering different resources that we have. Again, with that first placement, I think we didn't take advantage of certain things, and I don't know if it was a pride thing or maybe a not knowing thing.
Totally.
But that was a big part of it, and figuring out the resources that were available to us as foster parents.
For sure.
And yeah, just being good about having that budget, knowing where our money was going, and being disciplined and united on how we were dealing with that. Right?
For sure. And so I would say some of the resources that you get as a foster family are things like WIC, Women, Infant, Child.
Yes.
They've come a long way since we started, because back then you got like little paper checks, and then it was like one jar of peanut butter, one loaf of bread, and it was interesting. But now they're like in the 20th century, 21st century, and they have like a little debit card, and you just swipe for whatever you need to buy at the grocery store. And so obviously with babies, because we fostered babies for the most part of our journey, you get like, I don't know, 15 cans of formula or something like that.
Which,
and
what cost savings that is.
Absolutely. And we had one super chubby baby who ate all that formula plus some. And so, it was a major help for us financially to not have to buy that much formula. And so, but even in the foster care community, if you're part of like Facebook groups and you say, man, does anyone have extra of this purple can of Similac? And, a lot of times people are like, oh, my foster baby doesn't hardly drink any. So yeah, I do have like 2 extra cans or whatever. And so the community aspect, again, just plays a big role in being able to help you be resourceful and get the things that you need at no cost to yourself, except maybe to drive to their house to pick it up. But yeah, WIC is a big one, and you can have it no matter on like how much you make as a family. If your child is 5 and under, as a foster family and even an adoptive family, you qualify for WIC. And so just things like getting free bread and milk. Like if I had coupons for free milk and bread, I would definitely use them. And so part of me was like feeling guilty about like, oh, I shouldn't use this because we don't need it. But again, it is helpful. And so just all of those extra little pieces help,
and they allow us to do other things.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And alleviate stress. I mean, you're lowering your stress. I mean, there's so many things that people, I guess pride gets in the way, or they don't know about it. So, so being resourceful and really finding out what's out there with the resources.
Yeah.
And like there's Helen's Hope Chest and other closets for foster families. If you have a placement come in and you're like, oh man, I have a 6-year-old girl. I don't have any clothes for the 6-year-old girl. You can go to those places and your child can get clothes for free. But again, I would say those Facebook groups are a great spot to say like, hey, I just got a placement and they're this age. I mean, kids grow out of clothes all the time, and there's only so much that you want to keep hoarding. And so it's just great that you can get free things all the time. And, oh man, there was another thing I was going to say about Facebook groups, but Oh, and like baby things. I mean, it's so expensive to get strollers and all of those things. And I think when you're a new parent, you're like, oh, I want to get brand new, great stuff for my kids. But you don't need brand new stuff. And a lot of people use their things very nicely, have one child, and then they want to get rid of it. So just to say, hey, even put it on your Facebook wall, again, because this is another opportunity for people to say, man, I'm part of someone's foster care journey. And you say, hey, we're going to foster and we're licensed for babies. Does anyone have a crib? And then that's their opportunity to say, yes, I want to bless you. I want to bless your family. I want to be part of your foster care team and journey. Please take my crib and my expensive stroller. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Another thing that's psychological about that is that then the person and you and everyone you're interfacing with feels like they're not alone.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
I'm not in this all by myself, because I've heard that many times from foster families that, like I say, get really into that zone and they it's back in their mind. They feel like I'm the only one that feels this way. I'm the only one. No one else has these type of challenges that I have. And so by inviting community, it's good for everyone. Just lets everyone know they're not alone by themselves.
Absolutely.
I think that's really a very important part too. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast today, we want to encourage you to stick around for part 2, and definitely like and also leave a review for the podcast, and we would just really appreciate it.